What is going on, YouTube? So coming back today with my Virginia Tech football preview for 2016. So talking about a team that went 7-6 overall last year, 4-4 in conference, tied for fourth in the Coastal Division. So start with the first of my three key players, and I'm going to start on the offensive side of the ball with wide receiver Isaiah Ford. Isaiah Ford's going to have to be big this year. There's no two ways around that. Virginia Tech's bringing in a new quarterback this year. They also have two other receivers returning. Well, one receiver, one tight end. Cam Phillips and Bucky Hodges are going to have to be big as well. There needs to be a reliable target that Gerard Evans, the presumed starting quarterback, will be able to throw to for the entire year. This is an offense that seemed to struggle at times under Michael Brewer last year. Honestly, that offense seems like it struggles a lot the last couple years. But again, under the direction of Justin Fuente, good offensive coach, the receivers are going to be relied upon very heavily. So my next key player is the quarterback Gerard Evans. I believe he will be the starter for 2016. Brenden Motley is going to challenge, but I think it is Evans' job for the taking right now. Obviously, Fuente's had experience with dual-threat quarterbacks in the past, with Paxton Lynch this past year at Memphis. Evans is the number one dual-threat junior college transfer coming into college football this year. And again, I'm going to mention this a lot when we're talking about the offensive side of the ball. He's going to be very important. Passing game's going to have to be big this year. They can't rely on Trevon McMillan to be able to do everything. So, move over to the defensive side of the ball. And my last key player, actually, the safety Chuck Clark. The secondary brings in two new players, in Terrell Edmonds and Mook Reynolds. I believe I can't say that. And then you also bring back Chuck Clark and Brandon Fakison as the two starters returning, Fakison at corner and then Chuck Clark at safety. All three levels, I believe, can be very good this year for Virginia Tech. It's just they're a little bit inexperienced in the secondary and at the linebacker spot. Chuck Clark's I think he's going to be the leader, and at least he will be in my mind, for the linebackers and the secondary. And he's got to just be one of the overall leaders for this defense. So, moving to the first of my two X factors, I'm going to start with the new head coach, Justin Fuente. So, it was honestly kind of surprising to me last year they didn't go with Bud Foster, but he stays the defensive coordinator, and they get a great coach in Fuente that looks like he'll probably pay off, looks like one of the better hirings of the offseason. I think Fuente's biggest effect needs to be on the offensive side of the ball. Obviously, Virginia Tech hasn't had a successful offense, it seems, in a few years. I mean, I'll go through their schedule from last year a little bit later, but if you're a Virginia Tech fan, you probably know what I'm talking about. It's a team that relies very heavily on defense and turnovers. Last year, they did have their spurts. I mean, granted, they were against Furman and Purdue, but 51 against Purdue, put up 43 in a loss to Duke. But again, this is a team that if they just have a little bit more of a push on offense, could have been a lot more successful than they were last year. So, moving to my second X factor, and it is defensive cohesion. Now, this might sound weird, but like I said, the linebackers and secondary are not the most experienced group. The defensive line, however, should be very good this year. Woody Barron leads a very experienced group along the defensive line, 3 seniors and 1 junior starting. And then a couple names to watch out for: Tim Settle, Ricky Walker, a few guys backing up. Nigel Williams and Woody Barron at the defensive tackle spots, 2 guys that will be able to step up either this year or next. That could be big names heading into the future. Also, Tremaine Edmonds comes in as an athletic but inexperienced outside linebacker, will be the starter at left outside linebacker this year, so that's another name to watch out for. So moving to my trap game for Virginia Tech, and I think it's going to be Georgia Tech. I mentioned Georgia Tech as my trap game for a few teams just because they weren't great last year. They were expected to be, and I don't think Georgia Tech's going to be as bad this year as they were last. Georgia Tech gave Virginia Tech a very tough game last year in Atlanta, with Virginia Tech winning 23-21. They get Georgia Tech at home this year, but again, I think it'll be a tougher test, and if they're not expecting it, they're expecting the same Georgia Tech team as last year, then it might be a rough game. So my biggest game for Virginia Tech is the reigning Coastal champions, North Carolina. Again, if Virginia Tech wants to be the best, because they do have the ability to win the Coastal Division this year, I do believe they have the talent to do it and the coaching staff, you got to get past UNC. UNC is their second conference game. They have to go to Chapel Hill, so that game's not going to be that easy either. But again, this is a Virginia Tech team that has the capability to win this game and win the division. So I get into my record prediction for Virginia Tech, and I think they're going to go 9-4. Hopefully this sounds like music to Virginia Tech fans' ears. I know it's been they've kind of fallen into mediocrity the last couple of years. But going up and down their schedule, it does look pretty manageable. It is the stretch, the last 8 games, it's a tough stretch. Their out of conference is not easy either. But a lot of the conference games do look winnable. Tennessee, Notre Dame, I think both those games are going to be losses. They might be able to pull off the upset for one of them, but they're not going to be the favorites heading into them. But I think games like Duke, Miami, Pitt, I think they're going to be able to pull out most of them. I'd say against those 3 teams, I say they win 2 of the 3. So that pretty much does it for my Virginia Tech preview for 2016. I'll be coming back later today with Illinois and then Rutgers, but that's pretty much it. See ya.